Sir, Sat Sri Akal, Namaskar, Adab, Jai Shri Krishna, Jambu Sana, and a very warm good evening from myself, Manjeet Kaur, always hosting these shows every Monday at 9:40 p.m. Thirday Nige Karande, which I bring a wealth of information of what diseases are affecting the Asian community and the other people of other nationalities who are watching. Saranu, warm welcome. My shows are there to give you visual information of my studies, which I constrict, dissect, and give you in this time span something to do about health and awareness. If we are not aware, we don't take precautions. If we are aware and don't take precautions, then we are the guilty party. If we take precautions and then drop back 6 feet, again we are guilty. If we take precautions, then we ourselves are taking the good care of our body, which is your MOT. This motor vehicle of this human body, which is structured and given to us by Almighty, is the most amazing way the body functions. And I'm going to this evening take you to a journey of an organ that is so badly diseased in so many Punjabi people and affecting children from the age of 25, but from the age of 20 they already have got this one dangerous product being manufactured, which starts calcifying to create a most painful strictured pain at some stage of their life. 750,000 surgeries are done every year for this organ, either done by keyhole surgery or removed and thrown out and binned or destroyed. 25% of US Americans suffer from this disease or this organ failure, or the way the organ has been badly abused through the foods that I'm going to discuss this evening. And welcome. So I hope you're all sitting back and have a good nutritious meal. Also hope you've taken a choice of good fats. I also hope you've been drinking good amount of good water. Distilled water is the only water I actually ordain and endorse. And I hope you have indulged and enjoying my PINNIYA. In this topic today of this organ, I have also got a PINNIYA by that name of the organ, which is the gallstone. The gallbladder is the organ that I'm discussing, and the failure of the evacuation of excess bile leads on to formation of gallstones from the gallbladder. These stones can sit there undisturbed for years. These stones can sit there and multiply in size from a small rai da dana, from a small mustard seed to a size of a mung bean or a chickpea, or even to a size of half may I say a tangerine, or 1/3 of a tangerine. That can be then sitting there causing griping pain. This pain can give you discomfort from choice of foods that you make. But do remember, from the age of 20-25, because of the dangerous fats and the processed foods that are being indulged by youngsters, the body can only take so much nonsense. After that time, this organ, which is the gallbladder, fails to get rid of excess bile, and that then becomes calcification. Calcification of bile and excess bilirubin can then lead on to different kinds of stones, or 4 different kinds of stones that I'll be discussing, then called gallstones, which are different to kidney stones. A gallbladder pain can be very, very severe and can cause immediate emergency, into A&E, or it can just be sitting there for years on end, niggling, and can go untraced for many people who one day may just have the most, unbearable pain that sometimes they have to be rushed in to be given morphine. But 750,000 surgeries are taking place every year in UK. That is a big figure, folks. I mean, if we are a country of 65 million, 750,000 surgeries is a figure that I've picked up of, which is of the previous years. What is happening of late, I'm sure it is probably multiplied a lot, because there is no information given on how to take care of food. Sometimes youngsters can be having bad habits from homes because mother's probably slacking in good cooking habits, using good oils, using refried oils and refrying that again and again, and causing hydrogenated saturated fats to be going in as bad globulins that the liver can't break up. There's not enough good bile to break up these fat, and then that could then be an overload to the gallbladder. So the gallbladder, which is actually a sac and that sits just onto the right hand side of your under rib cage. It is a small organ, and if there's no food present in the small intestine, which is 23 feet long, then it will not produce the bile. But as soon as it sees food entering the small intestine, where this million of villi have to absorb, bile would be released from the pylorus to the duodenum to down to the small intestine to break this food up. So amazing. How does these messages get through your body that you've eaten, and the small intestine is then going to take the bile which has been excreted, produced by the liver, and then sent to the gallbladder as a storage? Wow. Pause to think. We have our cupboards in the kitchen to store our food. We have larders to store our bread and our lentils and cereals and condiments. But this storage that is done by the body is so magical that it's amazing how God has constructed a human body through trillions and trillions of cells to make one organ. And every organ has its own resonance and some sort of speaking, connection of electrical parameters to the other organ. And human beings cannot stop that. The information from one organ to the other will be hindered when it is in disease mode. And we can check that out on NAS scan, NES scan. I do that. I'm a colon hydrotherapist. A lot of the stones that if are in the sac can be removed through a gallbladder flush out. During that time, you would lose quarter stone to half a stone of weight with the structured program. Alongside that is the gallbladder PINNIYA. I call them the stonebreaker PINNIYA. The stonebreaker PINNIYA are there to eat at least 2 to 3 times a day because they have the right ingredients to help break up those stones. So really a 23 feet long intestine is the one that's going to absorb and break up the fats in the food through the process of having bile. Large intestine, which is next to the small, and a ileocecal valve connects that, is a magical plumbing system. This digestive tract total is 31 feet long. Starts from the mouth to the gullet to the stomach, and from the gullet to the esophagus to the stomach, going down through the pylorus, the duodenum, the small intestine, and the large intestine where waste matter is removed. Should be waste matter excreted at least 2 to 3 times a day. Pause to think. A lot of people saying, I go every other day. Others go once in 4 days. Others finish a magazine and they still have not done anything in the pot. So all these things are because of something wrong in your daily lifestyle. We seem to be victimized through our slack of lifestyle, through stress mediums, through emotional distress, through emotional baggage I keep talking about. And it's the choice of food that we make wrong that we disease a organ, be it the heart, the liver, the gallbladder, could be the pancreas failure with excess sugar and processed foods. And some things can be because you're victimized because it has run through a generation of families. But when we eat, a valve opens up enzymes, they're so-called enzymes that secrete bile to do their job. So the moment you start eating, the enzymes are excreted. The gallbladder acts like a digestion backup system, and it catches the extra bile and moves it to a safe storage. So, you may be having things inside the house, for example, but extra bits you might put in the attic, or you might put them in the garage. Amazing that the gallbladder is doing the same. So I'm just using live, examples for you to understand that this body is so complex that in this short period of time of 57 minutes, I need to run from beginning to end of the disease to the good foods and the bad foods. And I hope that by the end of the evening, you have regurgitated and looked at and thought, I really do need to look at this, and I really do need to look at my stone breaking program. Every person, really by the age of about 35 to 45, should go for a stone breaking program with me. Fact, because that cleanses your organ and it also creates less inflammation. When the stones are sitting in this gallbladder sac for days, for months, for years, it causes major inflammation in the sac. Imagine if I take something and I pinch your hand and I keep it there maybe for 10 minutes and 1 hour and 24 hours, and you're going to have major pain and indentation, and the side of your hands will inflame. Okay, the same thing happens with this gallbladder sac, that when there is excess storage of bile, if it cannot store, it would lead on to some other situations, which is the buildup of the gallstones. So really, storage areas where it's going to interfere with the whole of the digestive tract, that will be affected seriously. When you eat something, the gallbladder contracts. Imagine this little pouchy sac, it contracts and it squeezes out enough bile to keep the system running smoothly. How amazing that this synchronized, one organ playing up with the other, that it's seen by food, the message has gone to the gallbladder, it squeezes the pouch and disperses bile to get to the liver. And what happens when it gets to the liver? Obviously, the food will be digested, and the gall bladder and the whole digestive tract, cholesterol plays a big formation in gallstones if there's excess bad cholesterol, and here the gallstones can sit there for months on end, but also the stones could be due to some pigment. It could be due to some mixed storage products. It could be due to stones with calcification. It could be stones due to excess bile. So really, food high in cholesterol. Again, we keep coming. I've done programs on cholesterol, I've done programs on liver, but foods high in cholesterol, which would be like the very dangerous foods, would be organ meats. It could be the burgers, it could be sausages, which also include vegetarian food, for God's sake. That also includes your soya products, which are saturated with hydrogenated fats and other bad fats. And when you cook them, you need to watch my shows in this new series, which was Don't Fry It, ... it. I'll leave you in suspense to watch the cook shows, and a better time is being looked into and compromised. There's a lot of outcry for evening time, because suddenly youngsters which were never watching a call have suddenly started watching the health shows and regimentally watch, because we get their feedback, and their feedback is, can we have it at a better time when we come from work, and when we are eating, we'll be tempted to know what to make for tomorrow or next week. So sir mathe thada feedback is important. We just pass it back on, and at no point do we force people to give us a feedback. Your feedback is done at your own leisure and your own liking of the program. Thank you so much. So avoiding foods with the very bad meats, that's so important, which also includes non-vegetarian meat. We have discussed that, which will also include butter. In moderation, Punjabi blood is ghee, our blood is ghee positive, so butter in moderation is fine, but not when you're doing butter and frying up a paratha with butter and creating massive smoke. It's the burning of the fat, of the good fat, the butter, that then becomes a very dangerous fat, and that burnt carbonated fat would then be so bad for your gallbladder to deal with. Lard, one of the most heavily used and hidden fats, and even in the chip making industry. which is a staple diet of Britishers, has to be chips. Those who are ultra cautious will avoid chips. We've made chips in our don't fry it regime in my cook show. Look out for that. We have made chips in ovens. We've made potato chips. We've made sweet potato chips, but with only a drizzle of good oil, but not saturated, where you're going to have at least about 750 grams of bad fat in one portion of an evening chip, or chips. So you are having so much bad fat that the body has to deal with, and that means the gallbladder is going to go crazy. That means with the chips, you'll also be having something else, maybe fried fish, maybe battered products, maybe battered sausage. All these things make your dish or your food of the day a bombshell, that the gallbladder can only squeeze so much what it needs, and then the liver has to make more and pass it to the gallbladder. The gallbladder has to send it out again, and you have created a commotion. Even if today's food included paneer in this evening, or you've had paneer samosas, or you're eating paneer, which is obviously made from only good milk, full fat milk, other than the bogus milk in India, where a lot of milk in India, with the proteins taken out, they're making milk through 1 liter of hair shampoo, 10 liters of water, sangare da atta, vegetable oil, and 1 liter only of milk. This milk is heavily used in mithai industry. 45% less sale of mithai was made last year, and mithai wale were pulling their hair out. So of course, when you are cheating your public and giving them a wrong produce, then that's what they do. That also becomes in the equation of the deep fried food of Indian chevda. The most saturated, dangerous food will be given to the end, but right now I'll tell you, from the Indian would be the chevda and their mathiyan, or jenu matri kende a. And the one that the bibiyan kavda chauth varth rakhdiyan ne, they make a mathi which is about 8 inches big, about a 1/4 inch thick, which takes a good 35 minutes to fry on low heat, but initially high, then they want to cook that, and there's no salt, and that is taken at the worth of kavda chauth. I may be wrong, but I've seen people do it. That's anybody who wants to buy a bag full of gallstones, then have the mathiyan and have the matri, which is heavily used and fed to the guest in the wedding seasons or as a snack. Industry is not crazy. Probably this is why they have started producing oven baked chips and oven baked tortillas and oven baked Doritos and all those brands. They are sensible in some way, because those things are going through toasting rather than deep frying, but not naming any brand. So really, food has to be so good, because a lot of nonsense food can affect this. And then obviously if you do not, you're not reducing your gall excretion of bile, and the gallstones will be rapidly formed. High fiber diet is so important. I'm not looking at cereal diets, and I'm looking at the fiber on the outside, grains which have to be organic flours, and that also should be gluten free. So going for gluten free flours is important. So many different flours: mung da atta, soya atta, kale chane da chil wala atta. Then look at the buckwheat. So if somebody has missed my buckwheat celiac cook shows, you've missed a lot, because there I took you on a magical journey of what you could do with buckwheat. Anybody who's bought from me the buckwheat flour have said roti anni swad bandi hai, and it's so beautifully digested. But when something's digested good, it's not a load on the stomach. I also get the compliment that it's excreted well. But that's a fact. If you're having a white bread and a burger and expect that to be washing out from next morning, it certainly won't do anything for 48 hours in the stomach, sitting there. 72 hours before this rotted meat is going to get out to the large colon, and that process then sitting there, the waste matter for many days on end, may create a floodgate of human fecal matter, placoid, which starts sticking around the colon, causing bad gas that you upset other people, and mouth odor. A lot of people are spending thousands of pounds of money on mouth odor, but don't realize it's actually coming from fermentation and putrefaction of fecal matter, and bad stomach will be bad breath, which is certainly not very entertaining. And, when you have a stomach issue, the first thing we rush out is think, oh my God, whatever I eaten. But this can be so deceptive that the pain of the gallbladder is not the stomach. The pain of the gallbladder would be on the right side of your rib, the lowest rib cage, which is your floating rib. That could be a symptom, not necessarily. The other symptom you need to look out, obviously, would be having a very pulling, like somebody is pulling your shoulder blade muscle. That pain can be so nasty that you would be so uncomfortable, and you're trying to get this muscle corrected and getting somebody to massage. It just won't correct. Symptoms of, gallstones or excess formation of bile, where people could vomit green or yellow bile. Because I'm also a digestive tract specialist, we do colon hydrotherapy, NAS scan, with the Ayurveda niche products that I do. Also have my own Stonebreaker program, which is given, and anybody from 35 to 45 onwards must do at least every other year Tapke ek Stonebreaker program karo 2 months, and you have now cleansed your gallbladder. When it's inflamed, obviously surgery would take place, either keyhole. It's very rare they would do laser surgery. It would, although may then be a full incision around the lower rib cage to remove the organ and bin it. But let me tell you, I can bet you $64 million that whoever's removed the gallbladder actually never, the pain goes away, but the symptoms of maldigestion do not go away. You have not solved your problem. Sometimes that pain can just be there because of scar tissue after surgery as well. So really looking at rich fiber diet, we were talking about flours, we're talking about fruits and veg, some fruits with skin, some fruits without skin. And then towards the end of the program of the second half, I'll also be talking about the wonderful vegetables that are very good for gallbladder patients and gallstones. Obviously, gallstone prevention is very important to cut down on alcohol. It is said the UK guidelines are 14 units spread over minimum 3 to 4 days. Over 3 to 4 days, that should be spread out, but not binge drinking. So let me just add that a standard glass of wine is 2.1 units. A standard, not a Punjabi size. And a pint of beer is 2 units. And if you're going for Guinness, I guess it's going to be more. But the dangers of alcohol and, how it affects the gallbladder is it has to create more bile because it's an acid-forming food. And wheat and hops and gluten-y stuff has created fermentation to create wine through rotting of grapes and through rotting of wheat and hops, and so much yeast added. That's a load onto the liver and the gallbladder. Obviously, looking at the danger of crash dieting. This, before we go on to the break, is a serious problem. When you're crash dieting from going obese to zipping your mouth and saying, I'm not going to eat because there's a diet now heavily publicized in media or television or newspapers, and because 8 out of 10 girls in an office are dieting or have dieted one or another kind of diet. 8 out of 10 girls in office environment. And when you are doing a strict crash diet, it is a massive shock to the gallbladder, and by trying to lose weight too quickly, which shouldn't be more than a pound a week to about 750 grams a week, anything more than that is seriously dangerous. And this one, when you are crash dieting, it affects the bile in the gut, and the increased risk of gallstones forming will be a problem, and that would lead on to major issues of pain and structured pain. So dieting sensibly, important. Eating sensibly, important. Drinking water sensibly, drinking alcohol sensibly, but drinking the right kind of water. I'm thirsty. I'm going to take a wee bit break, for one little short break and one advert, and take you to the second half of my show. Stay tuned with Manjeet Kaur. हेठ लिखे नंबर ते फोन करके पिन्निया ऑर्डर कर सकते हैं. The Stone Breaker Pinniya will be running on the scroll at the bottom after this short break.